everyone, Christina here. Welcome to day 24 of the holiday card series for 2017. Today I'm going to be using this really cute stamp set from Reverse Confetti called Bearing Gifts. It has the most adorable little bear driving a car with gifts on top, and I thought it would make the perfect scene on a card. So I'm actually going to do a bunch of stamping using almost every stamp in the stamp set to create a scene with the bear driving through a forest with mountains. So I'm first going to stamp the images that would be in the most front of this scene. So I've got the image of the bear and the car, and I've also got some trees that are going to be in front. And so I'm going to create masks for those. So I'm using some masking paper from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm just using the residual ink left on the stamp to stamp that mask, just so I don't have to waste any ink or re-ink the stamp up again. I'm going to do the same with this tree. Go ahead and put that masking paper down right away and just use the leftover ink. And then I'm going to cut these masks out. I'm cutting out right up against the line, and even though I'm not going to have areas that are like near the bottom of the car be stamped over, I'm going to go ahead and cut the entire shape out so that I can just, when I'm done, peel this up and put it on the back of the stamp set and save it for later if I want to use it on another card. So I've masked off the car and also the first tree. Now I'm going to take that same tree stamp and I'm going to stamp it twice more using a mask for the trees each time. So I have that second tree. I'm going to move the mask over to the second tree so that I can stamp a third tree right next to it. And I'm moving the tree images kind of up and at a diagonal a little bit so they look like they're along the line of a road. I'm going to have the road coming down in front of the bear in the car. So I'm going to have the trees along the side of the road. So I eventually had to have 3 masks for all of those trees. So I went ahead and made 2 more masks. And then I stamped the mountains. And I'm using a little bit of that leftover masking paper that I cut around those shapes just to mask off the mountain so I can keep stamping along the side. So now I have all of my stamping done. I'm going to go ahead and reveal the whole scene here by peeling off all of the different masked images. And you'll be able to see that by masking off all of those shapes, it makes the bear and the car look like it's in the forefront, in front of the mountains. And it also makes the trees look like the one that's in the lowest that I stamped first is in front of the other trees. I'm going to mount this down onto a hardboard so I can do some watercolor painting. I'm using some blue painter's tape for this. This holds it nice and snug while I do my painting so the paper doesn't warp too much. And I'm also using some Magello Mission Gold watercolor paints to do all of my painting today. I did want to mention that I decided to use some Arches hot press watercolor paper for this. And I don't entirely know why. Usually I use hot press watercolor paper if I'm going to do some no-line watercoloring. But in this case, I was definitely stamping the line. So I didn't necessarily need to use hot press watercolor paper. So I think maybe I chose just because I hadn't used it in a long time. So there's no particular reason why I did, but I mean, this just goes to show that you can use any type of watercolor paper to create an awesome watercolor scene. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on some music for the remainder of the painting, just so I'm not talking through all of this, and I will catch up with you when the painting is finished. trying the initial painting, I came in with some metallic or pearlescent paints from Kuretake. This is their Starry Colors palette, and I'm using the white gold shade to add a little bit of kind of a silver shimmer on the car, and I'm also using one of the gold shades to add some gold accents on the presents. I'm now going to use some white gouache. I'm putting a little droplet of this or a little smudge of this onto an acrylic block. I'm adding some water to it. I'm going to dilute it down a little bit so it's a little bit more fluid. And then I'm going to splatter this onto my painting here. Now, here's kind of where my mistake came in, but I'm going to go with it. I'm using too large of a brush for the size of splatters that I want. And you'll see at this initial kind of like splatter, right about here is when I'm like, maybe I ruined this. I just kept going though. I'm like, well, whatever. I can't take it back now. I tried to pick up a paper towel and kind of sop up some of those really big droplets that are in the road area below the car. I tried to do that, but this was really thick gouache. You'll see how opaque it was. It's not coming up. So I decided, you know what? At this point, I just keep going. It's ruined one way or the other. You know, if I keep going, I can maybe salvage it, or, you know, I can just learn from my mistakes. So I switched to a smaller brush, and you can see that as I flick these on, it's much smaller splatter droplets. So learn from me. If you're going for small droplets, use a small brush. If you're going for big droplets, use a big brush, because that only makes sense. So I just kept going. I'm like, well, okay, he's in a blizzard now. I kept adding more and more snow. And for the most part, I think I was pretty lucky. There weren't any big droplets that went right over the face of the bear. So I think in that way, I really lucked out. So I kept going with all the snow, and then I thought, you know what, there would be snow actually on the trees and on the car. So I decided to go ahead and add in just some snow on top of all of these shapes. And as I started adding more and more snow, I kind of started to like all of the paint splatter. So I'm glad I did continue going on this card and that I didn't start over, because I had really put in quite a bit of time on this at this point, and I was able to salvage it. So I'm adding more quote unquote snow on those trees. I'm going to add a little snow on top of the presents and also on top of the car, just on the corners of the car, just so that it looks like it's out in the snow. So I actually ended up really loving this scene. I was doubtful at first, but I actually did end up really loving it. So I decided to keep kind of the remainder of the card really, really simple. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to add more snow, but decided against it. After it was dry, I trimmed it down so that this was actually, it was about 3 3/4 wide by 5.5 inches tall. So I'm going to put some foam adhesive on the back. I'm not stingy with that, lots of foam adhesive so that I don't have any drooping or saggy areas. And then I press that down onto a white card base. This card base is made out of some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110-pound cardstock. And I just scored and folded that so it would be a top folding card. I now have some black cardstock from Gina K. I've prepped it with a little bit of anti-static powder tool, and then I'm stamping one of the sentiments from the stamp set in Versamark ink. I'm going to coat that stamped greeting in some white embossing powder. This is Alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe. I then hit it with my heat tool till it was smooth and melted, and then trimmed it down to be a narrow strip with a little ribbon end. Put some foam adhesive on the back, and then press that to the top area of the card. And that just kind of filled in that sky area a little bit near the top. And that is the card for today. Very snowy bear driving a car scene. I think it's super cute. All the supplies for this card are listed down in the video description or in the supplies section at my blog. And thank you so much for watching. I will catch you guys tomorrow for day 25.